Princess Leonor didn't look nervous during the ceremony yesterday. That's what shocked me the most. Not the cameras, not the military precision, not even the way Spanish media kept zooming in on her expression like they were trying to decode a secret message frame by frame. It was the fact that for a split second, she looked tired of being watched. And honestly, I think that tiny moment explains the one thing Leonor may secretly hate most about becoming queen. Not the pressure, not the training, not even losing her privacy. I think it's the fact that she can never truly be a normal human being again. Because once a country starts seeing you as a symbol, they stop allowing you to be a person. And after what we've seen this week, I don't think people fully understand how heavy that really is. The cameras caught her smiling. But if you slowed down the footage, there was this tiny pause before she turned toward the crowd. Almost like she had to switch on the royal version of herself. And maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but I don't think I am. Because this is becoming a pattern. Every appearance lately feels less like a teenager growing into adulthood, and more like a brand being carefully managed in real time. And here's the weird part nobody talks about. The more perfect Leonor becomes, the less freedom she actually has. That's the trade nobody warns you about. While Prince William and Kate Middleton still operate with a certain distance from the public, Spain is handling Leonor differently. Spain's monarchy feels younger, more fragile, more dependent on emotional connection. So every move Leonor makes suddenly matters 10 times more. And I keep thinking about this. What happens when a future queen wants one day where she doesn't have to perform? Seriously, think about it. What happens if she's angry? What happens if she's exhausted? What happens if she simply doesn't want to smile? Most people can disappear for a weekend. Royals can't. That's the prison nobody sees because it's covered in luxury. And I know some people watching this will say, come on, she's privileged. She lives better than everyone else. Sure, absolutely, but privilege and pressure can exist at the same time. That's what people online always miss because social media turns everything into teams. Either someone is a victim or they're spoiled. Real life doesn't work like that. Leonor's life is probably one of the most controlled lives in Europe right now. Every friend becomes a headline. Every outfit becomes analysis. Every facial expression becomes breaking news. And if I'm being honest, I think that constant observation changes a person psychologically. Because eventually you stop asking, what do I want? And you start asking, what version of me are people expecting today? That's dangerous, especially for someone her age. If you're new to Leonor's story, subscribe, I post every day. Because this isn't just celebrity gossip anymore. That's why I think people keep coming back to these stories. Leonor represents something bigger happening in modern royalty itself. The old royal formula is collapsing. The silent, untouchable monarchy. That era is fading. Now royals are expected to be emotional content creators in real life. They're expected to look strong but relatable, elegant but authentic, disciplined but spontaneous. And honestly, those expectations contradict each other. It's almost impossible. And this is where I think Leonor's situation becomes fascinating compared to other royal figures. Someone like King Felipe VI grew up in a more protected royal system. The internet didn't dissect every gesture he made as a teenager. He got to develop privately before becoming symbolic publicly. Leonor doesn't get that luxury. Her transformation is happening in front of millions of people in real time. That changes everything. I actually think the palace understands this better than we realize. That's why they've pushed the military narrative so hard recently. Notice how every major Leonor headline lately involves training, discipline, uniforms, responsibility, preparation. That's not accidental. It's branding. And before people get mad at me for saying that, branding doesn't mean fake. It just means strategic. The Spanish monarchy learned from the chaos other royal families faced online. They know image now moves faster than tradition. Honestly, if someone like Mr. Beast analyzed royal media strategy, he'd probably say the exact same thing. Modern audiences don't connect with titles anymore, they connect with narrative. And Leonor's narrative right now is clear. Duty, sacrifice, discipline. But here's my hot take. I think that narrative comes with a hidden emotional cost. Because what if Leonor herself doesn't fully want that identity every single day? That's the question nobody asks. People assume royals either fully embrace the crown or completely reject it. But what if reality is messier? What if she loves Spain, but hates the surveillance? What if she respects tradition, but misses normal life? What if she wants responsibility, but not permanent performance? That's human. And honestly, I think viewers connect to Leonor because deep down, a lot of people understand that feeling. Not on a royal level obviously, but on a personal one. A lot of people watching this probably feel trapped inside a version of themselves they created for other people. At work, online, even around family. That's why Leonor's story hits harder than typical royal gossip. It feels symbolic, especially after this week's reactions online. I was reading comments from Spanish viewers, British viewers, even Americans comparing her to younger versions of Princess Diana. And honestly, I understand why. Not because Leonor is rebellious like Diana, but because people are sensing the emotional pressure underneath the image. And history has taught audiences to notice that now. The modern public has become incredibly sensitive to signs of emotional exhaustion in royals. Probably because of everything that happened over the last few decades with royal families globally. So when Leonor pauses before smiling, people notice. When she looks overly composed, people notice. And ironically, the more polished she becomes, the more viewers start searching for tiny cracks in the armor. That's the curse of modern fame. Perfection creates distance. Vulnerability creates obsession. And I think the palace knows this too. That's why lately we've been seeing more human moments around Leonor. More candid clips. More subtle emotional framing. More footage designed to feel natural instead of ceremonial. It's a balancing act. Too distant. She feels cold. Too emotional. She looks weak. Too glamorous. She feels disconnected. Too ordinary. The monarchy loses mystique. Honestly, being a modern queen sounds exhausting. And this is where I think Spain's monarchy is quietly entering a dangerous phase nobody talks about enough. The institution increasingly depends on Leonor personally succeeding emotionally with the public. That's huge pressure for one person. Especially someone still discovering who she actually is. And this is my biggest concern long term. What happens after the military training headlines end? Because eventually the uniforms disappear. Eventually the symbolic preparation phase ends. Then what? Then comes real adulthood, real scrutiny, real relationships, real mistakes, real backlash. That's when royal life becomes psychologically brutal. We've seen it happen to almost every major royal figure in modern history. The public builds someone into an icon, then suddenly expects them to remain emotionally flawless forever. No human can survive that comfortably. And honestly, I think Leonor understands this already. You can see it in the way she carries herself now compared to 2 years ago. There's more precision, more awareness, more calculation in public moments. Some people call that maturity. Maybe it is, but part of me wonders if it's also self-protection. Because when the whole world is constantly watching you, eventually you learn to hide parts of yourself automatically. That might be the real sacrifice of royalty in 2026. Not freedom, not privacy, identity. And maybe that's the one thing Leonor secretly hates most about becoming queen. The fact that the closer she gets to the crown, the harder it becomes to know where the role ends and where the real person begins. And honestly, I don't think enough people are asking what that does to someone emotionally over time. Because behind all the ceremonies, headlines, uniforms, and royal symbolism, there's still a young woman trying to figure out who she is while an entire country watches her in real time. And that might be the loneliest part of all.